First You Think is a not-for-profit ministry of the First Unitarian Church of Des Moines. Support us at ucdsm.org today.
NPR's Michael Feldman, remember him? Used to say, every culture has a knish, meaning every culture had produced some food in pocket form to take down a mine or a hole or a pyramid or whatever. As a dumpling, samosa, and pasty enthusiast, I concur. Similarly, I believe that every religious culture has a potluck. You might bring hot dish for the monthly Bible study. You might bring knish for a bris or for a family sitting Shiva. I'm told that in the South, fried chicken is its own religion, and schisms have erupted over potato salad recipes. In my UU childhood, we had the most marvelous project called Extended Family, which was created by the West Shore Church in Cleveland. It was a random grouping of singles and families, old and young, gay and straight, a bit like our circle suppers, but very hippie and 70s. We would meet a few times a year to eat and mingle. I only found out recently that our group stayed together years after others disbanded. I just thought that's what you did. I credit the menus, the most spectacular potlucks with vegetarian and vegan dishes before that was even a thing. I was a picky eater, but when my beloved church nursery teacher, Sherry, would encourage me to try this lovely dish that Myrna brought, I would, because I loved Myrna. We celebrate and commune and reconnect and mourn with food. This is human and universal. Our church, First Unitarian of Des Moines, has several beautiful examples of how we reconstitute via potluck, which we're going to highlight today. I'm actually going to start with a small piece from Sue Bridgeford. It's actually from Grant Bridgeford, her son. I'm not sure what year Bob Baker and Charlotte Shivers affiliated with First Unitarian, but Bob was the self-appointed and greatly appreciated king of the kitchen during coffee hour between the early and late services. Grant Bridgeford was about 10 and thoroughly resistant to Sunday school, much preferring to hang out at home with his dad, or better yet, just go to the woods. When Bob overheard the weekly argument as Mama Susan tried to wrestle Grant down the stairs next to the kitchen, Bob poked his head out and said, "Leave him with me." For the better part of 2 years, Grant's first stop was always the kitchen to help Chef Bob, knowing his reward was the first bowl of warm bread pudding. Do you remember Bob's bread pudding? Oh, I dream about it. Grant was able to feel useful and avoid the wrath of Mama. I also want to talk about broader things we've done around food that relate to our social justice. So first, Unity Circle Alliance. This informal social and general interest group brings in fascinating guest speakers on the third Thursday of the month. Their motto is, "We eat well, talk much, sit long, and laugh lots." I love that. My dream is to retire and join Unity Circle, literally, because the potlucks are epic. Unity Circle Alliance, or Unity Circle, began as a women's service group at First Unitarian in 1879. The group has a very proud heritage of contributions to our church, our city, our state, and our national culture. From the women's suffrage movement, remember Boone, to social issues in early Des Moines, through post-World War II support for war refugees via the National Unitarian Service Committee, and into the current group's monthly speakers. The organization has worked to improve church life and the lives of others in our community. Now, about their monthly potlucks. Okay, while prepping this service, I asked some church folks about their food memories. I got a lot. I had to pare it down a bit. No pun intended. The office staff here, without exception, mentioned the Unity Circle potlucks, which the staff enthusiastically attend. I garnered this short list of favorite foods from Unity Circle and other gatherings. I'm going to give you just a scatter shot here. Sarah Gunther's sourdough starter, Jane Swanson's Czech cheesecake, Lynn George's cookies, Carrie George's bread, really anything the Georges make. Dave Whitkey's pickles, Faith's banana bread, which people are constantly asking her to bring. And this is how at least 3 people described this last one. Mary Hayes baked beans. I'm not kidding. It was really funny. Unity Circle has expanded minds and stomachs for over a century. Long may they potluck.
Potluck? Did somebody say potluck?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that reminds me. There's one big potluck coming up. And when would that be? Does anyone remember?
August 2nd.
Yes! About that. And what we need to know is how many people are coming. Because you're bringing the potlucks, but we're providing the food, the hot dogs and beverages. So is anyone coming? All right, we need you to register RSVP. And if you haven't done that, we can help you out there after the service. Or if you have any questions.
This was your public service announcement. If this were a real food emergency, you would have been directed to the kitchen. Okay, I have a related reading that I could not resist. It's a poem called We Thank You, God, for Potlucks by Gary Kowalski. We thank you, God, for potlucks, where a multitude can cook with ingredients and spices that aren't from just one book. From casseroles and dumplings, hors d'oeuvre and canapé, pudding, sauces, pastas, to sensational flambés. How boring when there's just one dish or flavor to fit all. How yummy and much more delish when our feast's a free-for-all. Our faith is like a banquet, too, with many forms of seasoning, where Christians, Rastafarians, and Jews all do their separate reasoning. But all can share one table, break bread, and sit to eat, enriched by our diversity from pumpernickel to whole wheat. So we are our own blessing, our gratitudes made real, when we as friends can feed and serve each other in life's meal.
For today's service, we asked Bruce Martin to give us a reflection on his work with our social justice group focused on food insecurity, FEDS. And I'm going to read what Bruce had to say. FEDS stands for Feed Each Deserving Soul or Stomach. Let's defer to Reverend Garman's quibble about who's deserving by assuming that everyone is deserving. This organization emerged out of a workshop on social justice organized by Caesar Smith and Phyllis Swink in late 2007. We served our first meal at the shelter of Central Iowa in July 2008. This test run soon morphed into a regular monthly meal service. To date, we have prepared and served over 40,000 dinners, first at the shelter and later also at Trinity Methodist Church. This latter connection, now through the Children and Families Urban Ministry, we have recently restored after a pandemic-induced absence. The FEDS experience has proved meaningful for me in many ways. There is the obvious satisfaction from feeding hungry folks in need who seem to savor what we bring them. Equally important, I've enjoyed seeing church members meeting and becoming friends in the context of a shared project. I've appreciated the way we were able to unfailingly get the job done, as people stepped up to the plate to volunteer, to stand in when replacements were necessary, and to do whatever needed doing, either beforehand or on the spot. And of course, through regular FEDS communications and encounters, I've gotten to know dozens of church members much better than I probably could have any other way. We started out with a cadre of dedicated volunteers, some of whom are still helping. Even a couple of people no longer connected with the church have valued the FEDS experience enough to continue volunteering. And despite considerable turnover through these many years, the volunteer pool has grown. I can only hope that the Fed's experience has been as satisfying for many Fed's helpers as I've known it has been for me. I feel fortunate indeed to have been involved. And now, a special treat. See what I did there? Barb Royal will share some history of our church's fabulously fun food fair fundraiser.
Hi, I'm Barb Royal, and I'm here to tell you a story. A story about food and fundraising, yes, but mainly a story about our amazing First Unitarian Church community. This is the story of the fabulously fun food fair fundraiser, which is really all about building a thriving community, and it is one of nearly biblical proportions. But first, I warn you, the pictures that you will see on the screens will be a real trip down the food fair memory lane for some people. And for newer people, I hope it will intrigue you about the many ways we've had fun over the years, and the good food. You'll also see several people who are no longer with us, and the sadness you may feel is a reflection of the community we have built together. Side note, there are 2 notebooks in the gathering area that you can see after the service. My goodness, what was stay? I think that's monumental. There are 2 notebooks in the gathering area where you can see many of the photos that are going to show and more, as well as the offering lists from 1999 through 2025. I think we have some pictures to show, please. Bill? Are they up? Okay, cool. Now, back to my biblical story. In the beginning, in 1999, there was Bob. And Bob said, "There shall be a food fair, and I shall lead it." And he gathered friends to help make it happen. And it came to pass in December of that year, and much fun was had by all, and many meals and auction foods were shared in many households, and $5,000 was raised for the church. And Bob proclaimed, "That was a good start." And then Bob pointed to Barb and decreed, "You shall go forth and make it happen again next year." And Barb exclaimed, "What?" But Barb did persevere and went forth to gather more friends to help make it happen again in April of 2001. And it continued to happen every spring through 2019. And each year, the process got tweaked and automated a little more to make it easier for the buyers to buy, and for Barb to do all the prep and accounting. And nearly every year, there were more events and more auction items with more income and more fun generated. So many opportunities to meet new people and strengthen our sense of a welcoming community. And it came to pass that after 20 years of organizing the fabulously fun food fair fundraiser, in 2019, Barb decreed that the time had come for someone else to run the fair. And then appeared Elaine. And then came the pandemic of 2020, and there would be no food fair. How could we continue to build community when we couldn't eat together as we had been doing for so long? Elaine decreed that donations were to be sought for a post-pandemic party, and the people were generous and looked forward to a big party in the fall when we could celebrate our community and good food together. Yet, it was still not to be. The pandemic dragged on longer than anyone could have anticipated. And it was decreed that all should remain in their homes and limit social contacts for more than a year. Nonetheless, Elaine, being a person of vision and creativity, was not to be intimidated by a pandemic. And thus, in the year 2021, she created an online sale and auction as a whole new way of doing our beloved food fair. It included outdoor and virtual events, delivered meals and homemade goodies, and even some household items and clothing. Not doing that part again in the food fair. And of course, the wearing of masks. And it was good, though not quite as fabulous as when we could be together in person. So how do we measure the success of the food fair? By counting the hundreds of events held and auction items delivered over 25 years, which we haven't done, but Elaine and I have a plan to do a tally soon. Or you can measure the success in dollars raised to keep our building and community thriving. That number we have. It's, drum roll please, $306,680. Thank you all. Those are great numbers, but they are not necessarily the most significant or meaningful part of what we've done. What's been most important is that many of you have invited others into your homes or teamed up with friends who had more room or held your event at the church, or in a park, or on a river, or in a grand mansion, or on a farm, or atop a skyscraper downtown, or even at a bowling alley. And you contributed to the auction as you baked cakes and pies and cookies, or cooked meals for top bidders to pick up. And best of all has been all the connections that have been made or deepened with new friends and old. It's what we've learned from and about the people we call our beloved community. I hope we will all help to keep the fabulously fun food fair fundraiser alive long into the future. May it be so.